the right time. I overheard a conversation that they were getting ready to do this Mothership tour. And at the time, George Clinton was on Casablanca Records.
Right.
And I heard that they was getting ready to do this tour, so I immediately tried to find out where George Clinton was, because I know it wasn't 100% booked yet. So I found out where George Clinton was, and he happened to be in Detroit, Michigan, in the studio. And I actually, once I found out, I got on the plane almost instantly and flew to Detroit. And I knew where he was. I knew he was in the studio. And I talked to him about it and asked him, could we be on the tour? That's how we really got on there.
Sometimes it just takes to ask, right? I mean, the worst they could do is say no.
Absolutely right. And James couldn't believe it, because the answer was so quick. James said, man, we want to get on your tour. And George said, you got it. And James couldn't believe it. He said, no, George, quit playing, man. We really want to get on. Honestly, we want to get on tour. And George said, James, you got it. And he asked him again. He said, James, you got the tour. And sure enough, that was all it was. And we had the tour, and we did, 85, 90 days, of which all of them were sold out with the exception of maybe 3 or 4, and they were like 3/4 gone. And, it blew us up. Cameo opened up, and we were in the co-star position. And as James said, it helped take that album over the top. And we had, and I'll never forget this, when Stax closed in 75, we were there watching the IRS put the chains on the doors. The only group that stayed longer than as long, I think maybe Staples and the Staples Singers, they may have, because of contractual matters, they were trying to leave, but they couldn't. But I think they would say just a little before we did, but we physically left the last ones. But our manager, Alan Jones, told us, well, you guys got 2 choices. You can break up, or you can find you a place to play, go write you some songs, and try to get you another deal. And we did. We went and played this place called the Family Affair Club. It's a little club, hole in the wall. And there we wrote songs like Shake Your Rump, Too Hot to Stop. We rehearsed in the daytime, played at night, 3 or 4 nights a week. And that got us the biggest deal of our career at Mercury Records. Too Hot to Stop was our first album. Flying High was the second one, our first gold album. And it was the biggest decision we made, one of the biggest decisions we ever made in our life, because we all stayed together and played together. And we had this old saying, it was called the Family Affair. So one day we're gonna go from the Family Affair to Madison Square. And oddly enough, we got presented a gold album in Madison Square Gardens. Mercury Records surprised us and gave us a gold record in Madison Square Gardens.
Feel the
listening to Funk Republic Radio.
Flying High on Your Love match is up there to be one of the most popular ones, was my most favorite albums by the Bar-Kays. And then probably other albums, probably one of my most favorite albums, believe it or not, is I would say Marvin Gaye album rates right up there with things. But overall, believe it or not, I listen to a lot of stuff that because by being a bass player, I'm into bass players, so I listen to a lot of Marcus Miller stuff. I mean, and really, believe it or not the jazz stuff that he does, the more the fact that he's such a profound bass player and he can discipline himself so much to play simple stuff.
No, he's good. Yeah. So Louis Johnson just passed.
Yeah, Louis Johnson just passed. God, who was a great bass player. Another guy that can play a whole lot of stuff but can discipline his stuff to play something real simple. But Marcus Miller, there's a lot of Marcus Miller and probably two of my all-time favorites, and both of them are deceased now. Would be Bob Babbitt and Duck Dunn. Who I studied right up under Duck. I mean, I was kind of like a lot of the recording sessions that Duck did. He was sitting right there playing. I was like right next to him, watching everything that he did. I mean, and he was probably. I saw some on YouTube. He was really an underrated bass player, but just for the body of work that he did, and probably, believe it or not, on the session level, it kind of like if it had not been for Duck, there would be no me for us in this, in the session part of things. I mean, Duck was the guy.
Oh, he held it down. Yeah, with Booker T and those guys and Stax. I mean, he was on every doggone record they put out.
And then, and Bob Babbitt and James Jamerson. See that combination. I mean, it's Bob. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, well. It's Bob Babbitt and James Jamerson combination, and it's Duck Dunn because Bob got a lot of work for his bass playing because James Jamerson, was an alcoholic and drug addict, so he just couldn't show up for sessions, and so that's how Bob got in. And that was, and James was black, Bob Babbitt was white, and Duck just after he just played on so many sessions, he just started not showing up, so I could play on the sessions. And then at first these guys come to the session. He said, "Where's Duck?" He said, "He's not here, so we got to use this guy." "Oh no, we got to use this guy here. This guy can't play." So that's how I ended up getting on the sessions. I got in, just for the mere fact Duck didn't show up, and they was stuck with using me.
That is so funny. So Larry, which albums do you like by the Bar-Kays?
I'm gonna tell you, one of my favorite albums is Black Rock. One of my favorite albums. I think that album was way ahead of its time. I mean, some of the arrangements on there. I mean, that was the album where the record company just thought we was crazy. I mean, they had no idea of what we were doing. And Alan Jones, he was just an incredible producer, man. He was the guy who co-produced Hot Butter Soul. He was a bass player for Isaac at one time. He just was a great producer. He was our manager. Not at first, he was more of our guy. And then later, our manager, he was the guy who designed every outfit, designed our look. He was an idol maker. He was the closest thing to it. He physically made and put every item together on our outfits.
I mean, when you look at some of that old stuff and you see, the kind of get-ups and the costumes and the clothing.
That was him. He, on Watt Stax, the vest that the drummer wore, which was actually made out of real silver dollars, he went and got the silver dollars, drilled every hole in every silver dollar, and made it. That's how deep and intense he was. The vest that I had on, he made that. He didn't make the sleeves. He designed the sleeves, but he put every trinket on that vest that I had on. That's how deep.
That's crazy.
That's horrible. But it ended up being the outfits that we had on was so stunning that the Watt Stax people used our picture and our portion of the video movie for the trailer and the poster.
Yeah, but when you guys did Son of Shaft at Watt Stax, that was epic.
Yeah, it was cool.
I'm the son of a bitch.
Broadcasting live from the epicenter of the funk universe, Seattle, Tacoma, Funk Republic Radio.
See, he couldn't do that. We had to have something there, just not taking every moment of credit from the band. We were a good band, None of us was so individually talented, over-talented. We were all very good at what we did. We were young, man. I was 19 years old when I joined the band, when Jamesman started playing, they were like 15, 16 years old. Their very first record, recorded Soulfinger, was a million seller. So we talking about a band who has, from the beginning, been a very, very unusually blessed band.
Oh, that's awesome. So what was playing at Stax? Watt Stax, what was that like?
Words can't describe it. I mean, to this day, it's been the biggest audience we've ever played for. When we went on stage, it was 100,000 people. We've never played for an audience that big since that day. It was just incredible. A very calm audience compared to what 100,000 people would probably be in these days. No trouble. They were just there to see. And I imagine we were on the heels of those riots in Watts. So it was a very, very tense time. Our whole effort there was to calm people down and keep them calmed down. It was only $2 to get in. So it was mesmerizing. It was just, and we knew we were making a movie at the same time, but we were totally focused on making sure that our performance was good and that every inch of it could be kept in the movie too. Because some people got chopped out on the editing floor, but we didn't. So it was very, very cool. We were just so proud of what we ended up seeing, because it was a good performance. It was a good night for us.
You and I, we were all right, and then you suddenly changed. Without a cue, I had lost you, as if I never knew your name. So many things to say, and I need to find a way. 'Cause it's though you're here but gone, and I'm left here all alone on the outside. Well, outside, oh baby, outside, I'm standing on the outside, yeah, outside. Maybe you do, then maybe you don't, or maybe you don't even care. He has your love, and he has your heart. And baby, I know that's not fair. No, baby. So many things to say, and I need to find a way. 'Cause it's though you're here but gone, and I'm left here all alone on the outside.
Wanted to relive one moment in the past. Pick one moment that you could just relive. Which one would it be? How about start with James here?
Okay, I think probably playing with Otis Redding again. I think that was probably that was for as the original Bar-Kays. The fact of us, the combination of the Bar-Kays and Otis Redding hooking up, that was probably, I would say that would have to be among our finest hours, as the original Bar-Kays. And that would be, just to relive that would be, I mean, in this day and age would be amazing, because nobody would believe it. Nobody would believe it.
What did Otis bring to the band? What did he bring to the sound?
Just a electrifying guy, just night in and night out. I mean, even when he went through, because he went through this thing, the singers go through, where they have to have those nodules removed. Even during that time period, it started out with him getting hoarse a lot, and then he couldn't figure out why he was getting hoarse a lot. and even during that time period, some kind of way he still managed to get through it, and the people just, I mean, he just drive people into a frenzy. I mean, there, unfortunately, it's not a lot of, YouTube didn't exist back then, and there's not that much film. I mean, there's Monterey and the stuff in Europe, but other than those two things, there's not a lot of film stuff on him. But I hadn't seen. I've seen better singers, more, but nobody as electrifying. Not even James Brown, believe it or not. And you know how electrifying James Brown was, and as it turned out, they couldn't really stand each other. I witnessed a fist fight between James Brown and Otis Redding.
See, I never heard that one.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one either.
I haven't heard that one from him. We're trying to get this guy to finish his book. See, I out of all the years we've been together, I never heard that one. That's incredible.
But it's totally believable. I mean, James Brown was pretty much of a hothead. and
he didn't take. Yeah,
he was rough.
he didn't take competition well, you know. And a lot of it kind of came out. A little of it came out in the movie. You know, it was the beef with the Rolling Stones because he had to open up. But I could see that. I could really see him really not feeling Otis, because Otis had a thing that white people really. He was on the cusp of just really, really being incredible. You mind you, a guy who owned his own private plane in the 60s. He was only 26 years old, owned his own publishing company, owned his own ranch at 26 years old. Not many black guys had that.
Not too many people, period.
Period. You know, but especially black entertainers. He kind of got the drift from that from Sam Cooke, who also owned his own publishing company. You know, that's a lot to be said for that. Not people, period, but especially entertainers, period. But a black entertainer, no way. Moment I really, really cherished in my life, I had an opportunity to spend 30 days with Sly Stone. And he and I spent, though, a lot of those days writing songs together. He was a guy who, Ray Charles and Sly Stone were my absolute idols as a singer. But Sly and I sat in the studios nightly writing songs. And, you know, he had a bad reputation for being real high and not showing up, but he was a perfect gentleman during these 30 days. And I had as much of his attention as I could get. And I never, during this time, honest to God, I never saw him get high. Now, he got high, but he didn't get high in front of us. And I think when he started to get high in the evening, it would be, at that point, he would say, "Let's go home." But he and I wrote some songs. They weren't really good songs, you know, and we used them on the album. But just to be around him and hear the stories that he told about Sly and the Family Stone, understanding that he was one of the most prolific writers, a group ahead of their time, those were just I didn't give a damn if we didn't write a song. Just being around him and hearing, feeling the, you know, there's some guys you're around, I'm sure it was with Otis and James, some guys you be around, it almost makes you shake at the aura of being around them. It was like that with Sly. He was dressed every day like he was going on stage. And this was a Sly Stone didn't have much at that time because he wasn't at the peak. But in New York, we were bunked up together. You know, when I say in the studio, writing, and he hadn't been into the he wouldn't go into the booth to record. Nobody had gotten him to do that. Mtume had hooked us up together. But I got him during the very last few days. I said, "Sly, he called me, baby, what you want? And I said, let's go into the booth and record this part of this hook. And he would not do it. And finally, I got him to do it, and everybody just fell out because he said nobody has gotten Sly to go into a booth. He would always be at the control room. Even if he wanted to make a bass drum sound, he would take a he would take a basketball and bounce it and put the mic on the floor and record the sound of the basketball hitting the floor on the wood floor. He was crazy with that kind of stuff. He was so innovative. He was just amazing, man. And he would tell all these stories. And the weird part about it is next door in the other room, they were sampling Sly and the Family Stones music, voices, and recordings, making money off of it.
And who was this?
This was some rappers next door in the studio. And we had to listen to that for like 3 or 4 days, and they didn't know he was in the next room. And they were sampling him, you know, for stuff they was doing. So if I had to relive some time after that, I never had a chance to work with him again. And that was just an amazing time.
Listening to Funk Republic Radio.
How would you guys describe your stage show, you know, in the early period and then the hot period during the 70s, late 70s and early 80s, and then today?
We were a very rehearsed band back then. You know, Alan made sure we rehearsed 10 to 12 hours a day. Everything was sort of premeditated then. It was pretty much all pre-calculated, you know, big stage show, a lot of antics, you know, fire, smoke, bombs, snakes, you know, and it was wild. So when we didn't have a real hot record, it was still a hot show. All that has come down to us. We never sort of dropped that. We watered it down some. Now it's, with so much music being recorded, we've toned down a lot. We're older, but we're now getting back into the showbiz part of it. Now, and our troupe has kind of got a little bigger now. We got dancers, and we use a lot of video screens, and we have 3 or 4 different shows that we do and sell out on the road, some of which don't even include our new music. They're tributes to things that we did at Stax. We have shows that only include some of the artists that we would perform with at Stax, William Bell and Eddie Floyd and some of the other artists. So we do different things that appeal to a wider audience and that can keep us working. So to answer your question, it's it's about originality now. You know, not so much fluff. It's just about doing the things and making sure the audience get what they really want out of us. We keep our dress thing. I've always had a big thing about looking really sharp on stage, and even with big bellies now, we try to keep that to a minimum. We're working on that. Band's good. Band's tip top. Making sure we sound good. So it's a first class performance.
What's that, me?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. First time I tried to see y'all, the concert got canceled. That was 40 years ago. Now the show is about 10 minutes from where I live.
Come on,
I'm going to be there. When I think about the old bands, I mean, whether it's Clinton, Parliament, Bar-Kays, OJ's, the musicianship was a piece of what you did. Writing music was a piece of it. Dance steps, stage shows, stage presence, costumes, snakes, backup singers, backup dancers. That was all part of the package that you brought to the show because that's what people expected. But I see a lot of bands today, and it's almost as if they say to themselves, I'm a really great bass player, and you should just appreciate me for that. So I'm going to sit on stage, and I'm going to play some really, good music, but that's all I got.
Well, that's not show business. That's not show business. That's just you playing good music. That's not show business. I mean, what do people go to? They go to an arena to see a basketball team, or when they come to an arena or a concert hall to see a band. People expect something. They want you to turn some flips and they want you to do something. I mean, they want you to do something to the point to where they can say, "Wow."
This has been a production of Funk Republic Radio.